Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hey Woo Crew, welcome back to this week's episode of the Woo Curious podcast. This is part 3 of my 4-part mini-series where I am sharing my story. The audio you're going to hear today is taken from a live that I did on Instagram, and the quality is not quite as high as I might like. The studio sound does some weird things with the bird noise in the back. If you are keen to listen to part 4 before Thursday, which is when part 4 is going to drop here on the pod, you're welcome to go binge all 4 parts of the story if you'd like over on my Instagram page at I am Eileen March. And I hope, again, that some of my story here resonates with you. As always, please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to ask me any questions or share anything that might come up for you as you listen to this part of my story. The commitment. Before we drop into my story today, I want to make sure that I share with you about my upcoming free 5-day event. So once again, I am running Shine, a guided journey to step into your authenticity. It's running from June 16th to June 20th, every day at noon Mountain Standard Time, live, and as always, will be recorded because life. This is my second time running Shine, and I want to speak to the fact that, when we hear the word authenticity thrown around a lot lately, and so often we feel like, yeah, great, that's all fine and well to show up as my authentic self, be my authentic self. But for so many of us, knowing who our authentic selves are is tricky. Maybe you've looked in the mirror and felt like, you don't quite recognize the woman staring back at you. Not because of aging or stress, although those are very real, but because somewhere along the way you became a collage of roles and expectations. Wife, mother, daughter, caregiver, career woman, good girl. You've worn the masks, you've played the parts, and in the process, maybe you've lost touch a little bit or a lot bit with your you-ness, your truth, your wild, and your magic, the woman underneath it all. And if that feels even a little bit true for you, I would love to invite you to join me on this journey. Every day, we're going to be dropping into a little bit of teaching and learning, and then into guided visualization, which is, I'm just going to toot my own horn and say, my expertise. It's a soul-nourishing space to gently take off those masks, reconnect with the truth of who you are beneath the people-pleasing, beneath the perfectionism, beneath that external pressure. It's not about fixing yourself, it's about remembering yourself. Because when women begin to truly live from their authenticity, when we get to shine our light to the outside world, we give others permission to do the same. And that is world-changing. If you're feeling the pull, the link to sign up will be below in the show notes, or you can always reach out to me on Instagram at I am Eileen March to grab the link to join. Hope to see you there. Hello again. This is part 3 of the story that brought me to this place that I am now, serving so many beautiful heart-centered women, helping them reconnect to their bodies, to the earth,
to their intuition, authenticity, all of that stuff, all of that good, juicy, delightful stuff. And on day one, I talked a little bit about the challenge that I faced, the situation that I was in a controlling relationship where I had lost myself. And, I don't know if I ever really had myself prior to that, because I'd never done that inner work to really connect with me, but I certainly became a bit of a shell of who I had been in that relationship. And then, the turning point that I spoke about yesterday was leaving that relationship, deciding that I was worthy of happiness and joy. And then the whole year and a half that followed continued to be a big kind of turning point as I was opened up to a world of magic, of mystery, of spirituality, of connection, and of inner work and self-exploration that I'd never experienced before. And this led to the commitment. So as I shared yesterday, I embarked on getting my coaching certification from the Center for Applied Neuroscience. I jumped in 2 feet into the Wild Medicine Healers Training Mentorship Program. It was a year-long energy healers training program, which when I started, as I said, I didn't even believe in energy healing. I just knew that I needed to learn from this woman. And what I love about part of that journey is that as I went along, the science, the neuroscience of it all, the quantum physics of it all, it started to catch up with some of what the more woo healing ancestral wisdom world already knew. And so it really helped my brain and my body get on board. And it was at a retreat with some women who are now my business coaches, my aligned purpose, in May of 2022 that I decided to go all in on a life that would really serve me. I was still working as a midwife at the time, and I was coming back to a place of dreading my work. And I think I spoke to this yesterday, how towards the end of my relationship, I thought that I hated my job. And what really turned out was that I just didn't have emotional bandwidth for both my job and my relationship. But, and also, that job still was taxing. And in 2022, we're 2 years into COVID, I was really drained. I was really ready to leave. I was not okay. I would get the dreads, is what we called them, that dread of going back to work. Well, I would start to get them the day I went off call. I would already be dreading going back on call. And I knew a change had to come. And at that retreat, I had this vision of what life could look like for me. And it wasn't being tied to my phone all day, all night. It wasn't having to tell people that I would be there, babies permitting. And I made a commitment to myself to take this new courageous step. And at the end of the summer in 2022, I wrapped up my primary care practice. I continued to practice as a midwife in the hospital on just shift work until the end of that year. But I went all in on me, on my business, but on me. I really sat with all the crunchy inner work, and I'm still sitting with it. I am not healed. There is no end point on this journey. It is ongoing. But I really decided that I was going to make this shift happen, and it was terrifying. I invested more money over the course of the first few years of my business in my own personal development and growth, as well as in my business development and growth than I had ever invested. And that was really uncomfortable, but I was committed. I was going to create a life that supported me and also supported the women I was here to serve. Because that's one thing that never changed for me between being a midwife and then becoming a life coach and energy healer. And now, as I wrap all this up with a bow, a slow living witch who's here to serve women. I have always wanted and been really passionate about helping women connect to their intuition, to their inner power, to their strength, to their knowing, to their wisdom. As a midwife, that looked like helping women remember that their bodies knew what to do and how to do this, and that they could trust themselves in the birth process. Unlike the medical Western system had told them, there was nothing to fear. And now as a coach, as a healer, as a guide, as a wayfinder, that's what I like to call myself, as a wayfinder, because I found a way, not the way. Now I get to continue doing that work, right? And so the commitment I made was to not turn back. I remember in the first year or so of my business, it was hard. It still is hard. I'm not gonna lie. It is not easy to be an entrepreneur in a world that is experiencing so much uncertainty as well. And to be heart-centered and integrity-led also. I could promise all sorts of shiny things, and I don't, because I can't, because that's out of integrity. I know things that will help folks, and there's nuance to every scenario. So that's a sidetrack, but that commitment I made was there until even when things were really hard. I remember several people saying, "Oh, you can't quit yet. Don't give up yet." And I remember thinking like, "Oh, I might be a crying mess on the floor, but I am nowhere near giving up." And I still feel that way today. I am not giving up. This is where I am meant to be. And so that commitment holds firm. And even when it's scary, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, I come back to that why and to that commitment that I made to myself and to the woman that I serve. If you are interested in stepping into that space that I described, reconnecting with your inner wisdom, your intuition, your authentic self, beginning to remember and to relearn who you are underneath the husks and layers that anxiety imposes on. I would love for you to come join me inside of Shine. It starts on June 16th, runs for 5 days. It's free. It's live, but of course it's recorded. If you can't attend live, and there are prizes for attending or watching the replays, because I don't want to punish you for not being able to show up live. I will be hopping on one final time to share part 4 of my story tomorrow, and I hope to see you then. Bye-bye.